Give me a blue, blue, blue. Welcome to the Gator Lowdown. From Gainesville nights where the lights burn bright. Swamp shake heavy when the paths collide. 25 champs and we still outside. Net cut down, but we hungry inside. Hardwood kings with the fast break glow. Feet heat and we run that show. Golden built that pressure zone. Orange wave make the whole place blow. Orange, blue, Gators breaking through. Swamp roll out, that's what we do. Chomp, chomp, bite down, they're through. Whole crowd shaking when we aim at you. Orange, blue, stand up with the crew. 4 fingers up when we hit you too. Chomp, 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 Gator coming through. Gator, swamp roll out, that's what we do. Who you with? Gator, say it proud. Make them feel it. Gator, let the whole crowd. Oh, Gator, say it proud. Make them feel it. Gator,
What it is. Welcome to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows, the Sidelines Live production. I'm your host, Loren Meadows of GatorBaitMedia.com with the best shoe game in the Gator media. And tonight, we once again jump into a couple things. But first, we talk about our Gators. Right now, 47-38, our Gators men's basketball team. 47-38 lead over the Mississippi State Bulldogs as they look to win their first outright SEC regular season title in 12 years. We'll talk about that, as well as spring is in the air. And when there's spring in Gainesville, that means spring football. John Summerall getting out the gate with his group. Talk about what we look to see from the Florida Gators. And, you know, people could chime in with what they heard in the first day of spring football coming through. We'll be joined by Rob Browne of SEC Sidelines to chop it up with us, as well as our intern, Lucas Messmore of Santa Fe College, will join us later in the show. The Sidelines Live team would like to thank our sponsors, Meldon Law and Titan MRI and Imaging. Subscribe to the Lowdown with Loren Meadows on YouTube and Facebook, as well as our partner shows on the Sidelines Live Network, The Buddy Martin Show, SEC Sidelines, and Scarborough Knows. And follow yours truly on Instagram at Ohio Gator for Life and X at Real Ohio Gator. And we're bringing our man Rob Browne to kind of kick this thing off. What's going on, Rob?
I don't know what, but I do know this much. Scarborough knows. Skarbinski is covering every high school championship game in Alabama right now. You talk about a basketball junkie, him and friends together. That is like Flat and Scruggs. They're into it. And I was watching some of the Florida game just now. Then I left to come into our studio. What's the score right now?
It's 53-40. Mississippi State was game for about the first 5 minutes, and it's funny. We've had our friend of the show, call him friend of the show, CJ Ingram. We had him as well as his father, who was going to be Rob, the head coach, I think, out at I want to say Bradford for about 2 weeks, and then felt that home was where he needed to be. So he's going to return to his alma mater at Hawthorne. They obviously won the state title this year. So we had Cornelius on the show. So he'll be back at Hawthorne. But they inserted CJ in. Thomas Houck seems to be out for a precautionary measure. I think a hand or something like that. So it looks like he's kind of holding his hand on the bench. That's what I heard, kind of precautionary measures. So insert CJ Ingram. The Gators go on a 6-0 run, right back in it. And here they go, kind of starting to stretch away. I mean, Mississippi State playing hard, but looks like the Gators should be able to hang on and take this one. So, right now, Rob, number 5 in the country, arguably the best team in the country. You're on mute.
You would expect that Florida to be flat tonight. Not surprised the first few minutes, but they'll end up drubbing Mississippi State. I mean, they're horrible. You award them the SEC championship trophy. It's like, wow, couldn't you do that maybe after the game?
Right.
There's no danger of them losing. I'll tell you what we're starting to see. You're gonna see it in women's basketball. We're gonna have 3 or 4 schools, maybe 5. Everybody else, it's gonna be glorified church league because of NIL. The money that it's just, I hate it.
Yeah.
But the money is going to be spent on the stuff that people watch. And LSU, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee,
USC, UCLA.
South Carolina,
Yeah.
LSU, Tennessee, Texas, and LSU.
Vanderbilt,
Like
maybe.
5 schools. And I mean, it's just going to suck.
Yeah.
I hate that because I hate that they're going to be like, we'll field a team, we'll have a coach and they'll be there for a long time, but there won't be a lot of pressure on them. I hate that it's going to come to that, but that's where we are.
Well, and we'll kind of, I guess I need to get to some stuff. We got some big things coming up for Gator fans that I really want to touch on, but I do, and it's kind of say it was funny. You read my mind sometime. I didn't know if I was going to go there. And for the listeners and watchers, we didn't necessarily plan to talk about this, but there was an article that came out by our good friend, Kevin Brockaway of the Gainesville Sun, friend of the show. I thought he did a very fair job of pointing to the historical woes of the Florida Gator program on the women's side and how, there hasn't maybe been the investment that other schools have made and things like that. And you talked about it, Rob. It's like the haves and the have-nots. But, obviously we're not going to get too deep in the woods, but
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Kelly Ray Finley. I think if you put her record up against any of the past Florida coaches, she's one of, I think, 5 Power 5 coaches that have made the postseason every single year, which means they had a winning record every single year. I think she's one of only 2 Florida coaches to win multiple games, multiple years in the SEC tournament. So, when you look at some of that stuff, I think that, I thought the article was fair, but I think sometime when you get an examination of a program and you kind of touched on it, if people, is it fair to demand that some of these universities make the commitment to some of these women's sports as well so they don't get left behind? And you're not just, like you said, hiring a used car salesman, and you get talented people that under the old, it's no doubt in my mind that under the old system, Kelly Ray Finley would be doing big things because she can coach, she can recruit, she talks about experiences, she invests in the entire athlete. But with this money the way it is, I just think that, I don't think people are viewing everything from the same lens. I think they when it's convenient, they do. But when it really comes time to take a look under the hood and be serious about this thing, I don't think it's necessarily fair.
Yeah, I mean, the free market's going to rule here. And what do people watch? Look at ratings. They're going to follow the terms of endearment. You know this in life, business, the bedroom. They follow the money trail. It's how it goes. And I had a coach tell me this 2 years ago. He said, we're on course in the SEC. And I'm talking the big 6, Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, LSU. Those are the big 6 because they're the only ones that have won the SEC in football in the last 62 years, okay? They're going to go down probably, a lot of them will have 6 or 7 sports, and I hate that. But you can't make people put money into something that doesn't make money. That's not going to happen, and that's where we are, and I hate it because in basketball, we run the potential for men's basketball too of Kentucky. Hey, Kentucky spent $22 million on their roster, and you said Florida only spent $9 million, and Florida's got to play at Kentucky this weekend. I mean, they might lose. It's a tough place to win. It's just, regardless, Florida's already won the SEC. Now they're looking at the tournament. I mean, they're looking at March Madness. But golly, they're going to get 32 people together in Washington Friday for some NIL conference. Guess what? Not one current sitting coach is going to be there. It's a bunch of people that are going to wax eloquent about the way it used to be.
The good old days, yeah.
And I'm telling you, me, history, traditions, and heroes.
Right.
But you know what? If you have a problem and it's just festering constantly, stop talking about it. Just go fix it. Just deal with it. But that's where we are. And One Stone Angel, I hope you're okay. I know that he's dealing and fighting with cancer, Loren, and he watches my show in the morning, he watches everything on his channel.
Shout
I
out
love
to
this
One
guy.
Stone. Yeah, no doubt.
And I think he's at University of Arkansas Medical School in Little Rock for his treatments. If he is, St. Prerigan, the patron saint of cancer patients, I'm praying for you. But keep watching, and get better is more important. But I hate it because I loved watching women's basketball when I was coming up with Joe Champy at Auburn, and you know what Pat Summitt did at Tennessee. but I don't want to squeeze sports out. Sports are so important for teaching the lessons of life.
Yeah, no doubt. And when you talk about, you talked about heroes and legends and things like that. I mean, I think we're going to end up missing that part of the game because we're so hell bent on, well, the highest bidder wins, or we talk about
Right.
the things that make sports important, and it's just not getting there, and that's one of the things. But big things at Florida. Obviously, the women's team, number 12 in the conference, they play Mississippi State. The winner of that will play Oklahoma, in hopefully the 12-5 game. The women gave Oklahoma fits this year, so maybe on a neutral floor up in there in the Bon Secours Arena in Greenville, they can get it done. Want to give a shout out to the women's indoor track team. Rob, you're a big track guy.
Love track.
Obviously, kind of broke the streak that the chokehold that Arkansas had on both the men's and women's indoor championships. Florida able to get it done. Another one for Mouse Holloway, just continues to get everybody. I mean, here's the thing, and Rob, you know this about team track. Didn't win an event, but just killed them with depth and numbers, and we're able to get it done. So shout out to the women's track team as well, doing a great job. The men were right there, had a good showing as well. But when we talk about, Florida, and we talk about the history and the legends, going to be a big treat for, for our friends that love the Gators and are fans of the game. Big thing announced. A couple events going to be going on, and it's basically Florida Legends, 3 Heismans, 2 events, 1 legendary day. On March 30th, 2026, there's going to be a Legends Gala at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill for the first time ever in a public setting outside of New York City. 3 legends are coming to Gainesville. Join Steve Spurrier, Danny Werfel, and Tim Tebow for the Legends Gala at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill on Monday, March 30th, 2026. Enjoy an unforgettable night of Gator greatness while supporting the incredible mission of the Isaiah 117 House, basically for charity. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at Florida Legends, FLLegends.com. The second experience is a legend experience at Celebration Point at the Alachua County Sports and Events Center. Ever dreamed of catching a touchdown pass from Tim Tebow or Danny Werfel, or taking a handoff from the legendary Steve Spurrier? Join the Florida Legends experience on Monday, March 30th at the Alachua County Sports and Events Center at Celebration Point. Receive a personalized video of your touchdown that you get to catch from Tim Tebow or Danny Werfel, or take home a signed football by the Gator Legends. They might hand it to you. Enjoy an unforgettable day of Gator greatness while once again supporting Isaiah 117 House. Tickets are limited. Get yours now at FLLegends.com. Don't miss your chance to be a part of Gator history. Visit FLLegends.com for tickets and full details. Go Gators. So, Rob, what do you think about that? How's that sound?
I love it. I mean, and I want to give you a compliment. Another thing I love about you is you played on a smaller level in college, but you played. And
I definitely played.
Yeah, and not many people can say that, okay? But what's more important is you are close friends with your teammates. I know you are.
Yeah.
And I've got friends that have played on Division 1, 2, and 3 as well. They're as close at D3 as they are at D2 or D1. And everywhere you go, it matters. And I'm telling you, I don't want to see just, the SEC women's being 4 teams or 5 teams because of money. We be careful with that. In a capitalist economy, you got to be careful. The reason we're where we are with NIL is because you cannot deny an American citizen the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But that doesn't mean you can't have salary caps or something.
Yeah.
And I think, look, we've got it in pro sports. And remember, who was your Major League Baseball team? I'm going to guess AM 700 WLW with Marty Brenneman, the
No,
big
it
red
wasn't.
machine. You were a big red machine.
No,
I know you were. Yeah, you were. Who were you
no,
pulling for?
the Giants, San Francisco Giants.
You were
I mean,
contrarian.
but I did like the Nasty Boys. If you remember the Nasty Boys in the '90s and those guys with the Reds, I rock with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you think at you look at just the where things are, and and even some of these events. It's funny that everybody talks about something that's worthwhile, and I'm not going to give the NIL because that's not worthwhile.
No.
Well, how about you give it to these events then? The two, I mean, think about it, Rob. I mean, something as historical as the 3 Florida Heismans getting together all in one time, one event for something outside of New York City, the Heisman Trophy itself. I mean, imagine that. I mean, that in itself is going to be an event. I got to look into it and see if I'm going to be able to make it there as well. I think I might be out of town actually, but I'm gonna do my best to be there. But it's just one of those things where you look at these events and things like that, and I do applaud the people at Isaiah 117 House and Florida Legends is being able to bring those folks to the people. And that's what I like about it, and I think that the one thing I can say, and I think there are some certain experiences and things like that exist in the NIL space that gives you an opportunity to be down into Danny Werfel and Coach Spurrier and Tim Tebow and others that may be a part of this thing because, now you spend a little money, get involved, it's for a good cause, and you might get to meet your favorite, Florida football player. So it's there's a lot in there, Rob, but I agree. I mean, I think that at some point in time, we got to either say blame the adults, stop blaming the kids, get it figured out. But, I cringe to think what this world of college athletics, non-revenue sports will look like in 10 years.
Well, first off, it is the adults. You know damn well. You and I were in college, 19, 20 years old. Someone's throwing that kind of money at me. Now, I guarantee you my parents would have taken it, and Uncle Boo, my godfather, was an investment guy. It would have been put away in the stock market, and I wouldn't have gotten any of it. I would have gotten a pittance, okay? But I also want to say I can remember where every one of those Florida Heisman Trophy winners played high school. Steve Spurrier, Science Hill High School, Johnson City, Tennessee. Danny Werfel, Fort Walton Beach. His father was in the Air Force, chaplain down there with Eglin Air Force Base. Danny Werfel Way, the Mid-Bay Bridge there in Destin. I go over it a lot, okay? Tim Tebow, Nice High School, St. Augustine, the oldest city in America. I can remember those guys'
and
careers.
Also alma mater of our very own
Brendan Martin. By the way,
who also wore 15
before Tebow did.
Yes. He was about to chime in if we didn't get that in. That's why I got it. Got to make sure we got that in. But go ahead.
But I'm just saying. But God, I can remember Danny Werfel. I remember what Brother Oliver, defensive coordinator at Alabama, said. He thought he was maybe the best quarterback he'd ever seen coming out in terms of the total package and the leadership. I mean, honestly, Tim Tebow as a Heisman winner, let's be fair. He's done more off the field since his career ended than anyone we've ever had in this league.
No doubt.
Now, I've still got my Pat Sullivan jersey signed. It's in the console of my truck because I was moving and I was afraid I was going to lose it. So it's still in the console, but he signed it. And back in 2008, he was worried that someone would put it on eBay. A friend of mine got him to sign it. And I was like, no, this guy, he'll be buried with it, So anyway, I think that's an awesome cause. And the Gator fan base, what did we tell y'all about Summerall? And Buddy and friends are going to talk to him, I think, tomorrow. They're going to have
I think Wednesday maybe.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, so that's a sit down.
Tomorrow. Yeah, I guess it is. Wow.
But I was listening to my friend Chuck Oliver on his show talking about Gator football. I look at Gator football. It really changed. Ray Graves in the 70s was good. Charlie Pell, he's so underrated. In 1984, they had the title, then they didn't. but that's the guy that just woke up Gator Nation, the populist uprising. If you went here, great. If you didn't, great. If you love the Gators, that's all that matters. And he's the one who made Go Gators be as significant a battle cry as Roll Tide or Sick 'em Dogs or War Eagle. That's that guy because of his relationship with Ben Hill Griffin and eating swamp cabbage. Great story about that. Biggest check in Florida history. I love the history of Florida, and I'm excited about Auburn and Florida September 19th going toe to toe. I do think Summerall was the best hire, though, in the offseason of a football coach.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of Coach Summerall, he spoke to the media today, kind of detailed some of the things that went on in the offseason, talked about the gauntlet, which was, I think, one of the, basically this is how you earn the right to go the next stage was the gauntlet, a number of agility drills whenever there's a mistake, whether it be a hand. I love this, Rob, whether it be a hand down the wrong way, like, on that L drill that they do at the combine, you're actually supposed to put the opposite hand down and kind of turn. A lot of people mess that up, different things like that, zigzag drills, all those things. But anytime a mistake is made, you basically lose 30 seconds to complete the gauntlet, and you have to match a certain time. And if they don't get it, and it took the team about 8 times, I think he said, to get that, basically teaching perfection in all phases from the get-go. Then they talked about guys like Bryce Lovett and Caden Jones on the offensive line, Vernell Brown and Lagonza Hayward, building themselves up in the strength program. Brendan Bett, Jaden Woods, Miles Johnson. I saw Aaron Childs last week, added a lot of muscle, looked really good. Joseph Mbachu, defensive lineman, is about 6'5", 323 pounds, somebody that you can really lean on. So it looks like, I think his last name is Witt, Coach Witt with the strength program, just making sure that everybody is sound. And this is a football team that, physically is ready to go, Rob, based on, a former Green Beret who's really taking this team to the next level. I thought that, among a lot of things under the old regime, and I'm going to keep naming the name, Florida basketball now up 80-59. So it looks like the Gators will win the SEC conference title, regular season title, for the first time in 12 years outright. But, you got a Green Beret, Rob. I know you got a lot of respect for the, the folks in the Army, and I do as well. Our armed forces, things like that, just the Green Berets, people in the Army, but Air Force, Marines, Navy, all that. But, it looks like that it's a little different tone now, a little bit more perfection. Talked about, earning the logo. That's one thing. And then, talked about, how he gives out the number one and just not going to put somebody in number one that basically can't go, so it's going to be Vernell Brown and I think Bryce Thornton there in the secondary. So 2 solid guys that have gotten it done at a high level, but, just really you're getting nothing for something or giving nothing for something is not the way that Summerall is going to go about this thing. And, I like that, everything is kind of you earn it before you get it. No timeline set for, who the starting quarterback is going to be, and just continuously, building, what we hope will be a culture that will reflect winning. I mean, you look at it on paper and it should, but we got to see. But I mean, you because it's talking season, we have to look at all these things as a positive, Rob, and you noted on it. But when you look at kind of those things as well, you add the gauntlet and the earning of the Florida logo and the fact that if they didn't get through the gauntlet, he was going to actually postpone spring practice until they got it right. I think when you talk about a program that really is at the threshold of what I always say becoming Nebraska, from a tradition standpoint, I know they're not the same school, but you got to at least like it, Rob. I'm not going to say you got to feel positive about it. I ain't sold yet, because I got to see them kick off. But it at least is headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Now you talk about Florida doesn't want to become what happened to Nebraska in football. Look at Auburn as an example of becoming Indiana.
I love Pat Dye too much to say Auburn, but I know what you're saying.
But they've become a lot like Indiana.
Right.
5 straight losing seasons. Florida's struggling as well. While Auburn and Florida have been on the side of the road struggling for the last 5 years, Ole Miss has risen. Missouri's doing better. You've had some programs that aren't normally good playing a lot better. What's going to happen when Auburn and Florida get their act together? That giant sucking sound that you hear is going to be those other programs. I think they're going to struggle. You can't keep those programs down. But one of the things about Florida that I'm hearing more of, and I know not everybody started spring practice, but you know what you're hearing about Florida since Summerall got there? What I said it would happen about practice, tough workouts, contact, mat drills, the gauntlet. They're talking about football. We're not talking about NIL. We're not talking about guys in the portal. Maybe that's because the portal only has that 2-week deal once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we're back to talking about football.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. I think that, it's a, and I always talk about it. I mean, for everything that we, hate or don't like, when it gets down to cracking skulls, and it's at every level, springtime comes, it's putting, putting it down and getting it in. And that's where, you love the game, and the game continues to be the game no matter what. And that's where that always brings me back when it comes time to where I'm complaining or things like that, or, worried about NIL or people talking about money this or money that, and that person leaving. It still comes down to the football. I wanted to touch on something else with that, where the football still matters. A guy like Jaden Woods detailed that he took a trip to Texas in January. And, as much as I love Gainesville, I love the city of Austin just as much. And you and I both know if Texas wanted him, they knew what to do to get him. But one of the things that he detailed was that they got on the Zoom call with the coaches, and they talked about a playbook and the scheme and what they were planning to do, and what Brad White, I'm sure, broke down some of the edge rushers that he's been able to coach and put in good positions and all those things to let you know that some kids still want to be developed. They want to be paid too, but maybe not to the point where they want to be developed. And I thought that was strong from Woods to say, look, or kind of note that I'm still looking at the football here, and I may have next level expectations, but I want to be developed. And that kind of speaks to, some of the things that may or may not have gone on before, but at least John Summerall again has put a X and O's plan together that has brought people, has brought people out, for instance. So, I think that's a play as well, Rob. It's just, where this thing, it still can get down to the football.
Yeah. Well, watch on John Summerall. I know Kirby Smart a couple of years ago talked about this at Media Days in Dallas. During the offseason, they made everybody on the team learn about everybody on the team. Okay. It's called a visitation. I had to do it as a pledge in my fraternity in college. The guy's name, major, hometown, family, pets' names, stuff like that. 3 or 4 lines. And I still to this day can remember about every one of them. You do that, it's hard to leave family. I've never met anybody in my life that's left the United States and never came back. You build a culture and you invest in your people. And when you work them really, we all know this about life. The teachers, the friends, the parents, the people around us that push us the hardest, the coaches. I mean, I'll never forget going back to Blacksburg one time with my brother-in-law. He played football at Virginia Tech. He'd been out 9 or 10 years. Went over there on a Sunday afternoon. It's like he'd been there yesterday. They never forget the people. John Summerall is a genuinely good person. He also realizes how blessed he is after his neck injury that while drinking a cold road soda down on the Florida Panhandle in L.A., he got a call from Kentucky. Hey, man, I know you can't play anymore, but we want you to come back.
All right.
That's what John Summerall – you've talked to him. I haven't talked to him. I just know one of his good friends. I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I think that there's been two kind of interactions. Both have been very impressive. Like I stated before, I like the fact that he's outside.
Yeah.
He talked about going to sports and really enjoying the basketball. Like I said, he had hot dog juice all over him at the basketball game last week. There was a sighting at softball. I think he's made an appearance at baseball, but he said he doesn't know. I mean, it's tough for me to sit through 9 innings of baseball, but I think when the weather been a little tight here since, it's been a little cold too, but now the weather's getting better. I'm sure he'll stretch that out and, be around and that kind of thing. So he got the outside thing looking, licked. He was the first head coach since, to attend the Steve Spurrier's first year coach award, which I never understood, but whatever. You can only not be the winner once. After you don't win it once, you should come, whatever,
Yes.
but, just some of that stuff. I mean, but yeah, he's doing all the right things right now, jumping on different people's podcasts, applauding. We need to give him a hand on the air for sitting down with Buddy Martin. Just so, I mean, I think that, doing what every coach, you literally have a living legend there in, Ocala or wherever he is up in the Panhandle, he's a little bi-coastal on us, but, those things matter. So shout out to, Buddy Martin and Franz Beer, my two favorite writers, sports writers. So, there it is with that. But, it starts with people and, kind of talk about the good people at Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. The Meldons are probably sitting there right there on the floor as Florida now leads 84-61, but they support every sport. Saw them at women's basketball last week, saw them at the Spurs event, just doing everything, really building. And now Mr. Meldon, Jeffrey Meldon, is now on Thursday nights with the Buddy Martin Show. And about 9:30, they start talking Gators hoopla. So they talk about everything, Gators basketball, what's going on with the team. I'm sure they'll be doing that through April when the Gators hopefully, make a run to Indianapolis in the Final Four. But the good folks at Meldon Law, I saw the other day offering baseball tickets, experiences, softball. I'm sure they'll have some gymnastics giveaways, just different things to really get people involved and get behind the Gators. But ultimately, they're a law firm that can help you with injury law and a lot of other things. If you have a legal need that they can't help you with, they'll point you in the right direction. Scan that QR code, take you right to the website. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. We won't back down, no doubt. So, Rob, looking at this basketball team and where things are going, we talked about it about a month ago. I think I called it. I thought the Gators would play themselves into that number 2 line. It looks like Joe Lunardi has them as a 2 now, basically the top 2, which will put them right where they are, 5th in the country, top number 2. What would it take, Rob, do you think, to possibly play their way? What would it take to maybe play their way into that number 1 seed? That would probably mean that they would have to unseat the likes of an Arizona who they lost to, a Duke who they lost to. Looks like maybe Iowa State, although that game was, I think Arizona put foot in there, Iowa State last night. And I can't remember, and Michigan. So what would maybe have to happen in the SEC tournament next week in Nashville for the Gators to play themselves into that number 1 seed?
I think if they win out and then they win 2 games in the tournament, they're going to be a number 1 seed. I could see them being a number 1 seed if they just keep.
You don't think they have to win the tournament?
Does it matter if you win the tournament?
I think it does for them.
Look, I'm not one of these people that say this game doesn't matter. I despise losing.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's shown that it really helps you. Look at teams that, they win their conference tournament and they end up a 4 or 5 seed. And that now we all know 2008 Georgia was terrible when the tornado hit, and they won when they finished at Little John Coliseum there, or Alexander Coliseum at Georgia Tech after the tornado. But no, I mean, there's such a national narrative. Duke. I mean, it's like a Hollywood script, like a screenplay. Arizona, Tommy Lloyd, longtime assistant at Gonzaga with Mark Few. Mark Few has built such a great culture at Gonzaga. Like, why should I ever go anywhere? But you know what? Think about last year, Auburn and Florida. They played everybody in that Final Four, Final 8. They played almost every one of them. So just keep winning, and all that stuff will work itself out. I think at the worst, they're a 2 if they keep winning.
Oh,
and
yeah, I think.
Even if they're still going to be a 2 by sheer fact they win the SEC championship regular season. That's not nothing.
Right. The one thing I will say, and maybe, and not to play devil's advocate, because I think you're right in every point. What I will say is that I like the idea of, and I think Patrick Young said it best, and then we have a sample size to go on, is winning the SEC tournament is part of the process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's where I like the idea of continuing to win, continuing to play well, and it would essentially be going 9-0, right? Basically is what you do if you win it all. You go 9-0. And that kind of mentality, I do like that. I think this team is built for tournament play. I think obviously getting the double bye will be huge. They got it last year too, but getting the double bye, but just as part of the process. And it'll be interesting to see, we talked about 14 teams last year. We got 11 possibly this year. So as much as people want to say the SEC is down, it really isn't down that much. It really isn't down as much as people say it is. Florida now, you're ready to bust the clock on Mississippi State, 93-66. And cautionary tale, or, just an example of being ready when your number's called. Our guy, like we talked about, CJ Ingram, minutes usually not there because of Thomas Houck, but make the most of your opportunity, man. And I think he's like a plus 12 right now on the plus minus, as far as being on the floor with the Gators. So, through alley, had a nice alley-oop to Chinyelu, just really looked comfortable and looked like somebody that no matter what has continued to do the work and be ready when his number is called. So, we love CJ Ingram on this show and want to give him kudos for that. But, Rob, it's going to be an interesting run to Indianapolis. And the one thing I would caution, I would tell the Gators, don't get down, don't be down 8 with 2 minutes left, to go to the Final Four. I mean, I think it's going to have to be where they're going to have to be the group that really just imposes their will from the giddy up. And it might even be because they're, I think, even though I always say that the NCAA tournament is built on the guards, their ability to lean on people on the glass, I think takes pressure off those guards. Whereas last year, if the guards didn't play well, they were in trouble. This year, the guards can play a little bit more free because they know if it comes off the glass, probably going to get a few extra possessions off of it.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri's got a couple of big 7-footers, and Dennis Gates has got them playing really well. But I think if you just don't want to have a bad loss, like what happened, Arkansas, after what happened to them Saturday night at the O-Dome in Gainesville, they got to pull that team back together. They quit. And Florida beat them so bad, they didn't want any more of it. That's what Florida's capable of doing. And I don't see Todd Golden micromanaging and, smothering them with timeouts and just constantly being all over him. He trusts his team, but the conference tournaments, they're just so much fun. I mean, some of the smaller conferences are starting them now. Women start tomorrow in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that when I look at this Florida team, it's just it's not a mirror image of last year, but the big guys that can run, that's unique. But I'll tell you about real quick before Lucas comes on. SEC basketball, the men's, the beginning of the year, it was hard, it was impossible to say it was not down when you had 4 almost great teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 14 in the tournament. So it took a while, and now Florida's on the biggest win streak they've been on in memory, and Alabama is playing their ass off. Tennessee got a road win tonight down in Columbia. I mean, the funeral dirges in Columbia and Baton Rouge for men's basketball. It's sad. I mean, they're horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just think the Gators, they're having fun. And
Yeah.
when what made me know they were going to win it last year, down by 26 at Georgia, came back, took a 1-point lead, still lost the game, but there's no quitting those guys. If you've ever gone gator hunting, you will realize this quickly. You got one shot. If you don't get it right, they're just relentless. And Todd Golden, look at the way he coaches. He's just quiet. He does all of his coaching Monday through, during the practices.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys they're not looking over their shoulder panicking. That's what they're
right.
doing.
Yeah. I mean, and great, great staff scouts. I mean, they always look ready. I mean, they're scoring. They're going to bust 100 without Thomas Howell. I mean, think about that. I don't think Duke could bust 100 without Boozer.
Yeah.
I don't think that. So, you look at this ability of, and I said they had a good problem to have too much talent, so that's always been the thing. Let's get to Titan MRI real quick, and we bring Lucas on for the last 10 minutes or so. I want to thank the good folks at Titan MRI and Imaging. Joe Calorio's got them running again, doing big things. Gainesville's newest independent MRI facility, locations in Gainesville with 2 and a Lake City location serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. No insurance, no problem. No appointment, no problem. Walk-in, self-pay options, larger MRI machines for patient comfort, great customer service. You can also get x-rays, CT scans, everything you need, one-stop shop there at Titan MRI and Imaging. They are also involved with Florida sports, doing big things with softball, being down in there. Like I said, just continue to support Florida athletics in the Gainesville community. Titan MRI and Imaging is your choice. And with that, we bring in our intern, Lucas. What's going on?
Good. Just finishing watching the game like y'all.
Yeah. Well, it ain't done yet. I mean, it's still but it's over. You're right. But Lucas, when you talked about last week, and then we'll switch back to basketball. But I just wanted you to touch on. We talked about, you kind of noted that we talked about kind of the banter back and forth between the coaches at the Spurrier's first year award. What'd you think about that?
Seeing the clips of it, I think it's kind of good that they're digging at Summerall, because that gives he seems like a coach with a chip on his shoulder, which is the obvious truth of it. So I think that, like, having like the Georgia's coach Kirby Smart say you're the 4th coach that I've played against, like that, a dig like that, if I was a head coach, that would hurt.
Yeah, and you and I didn't see it. I think I had gone inside. It was cold. I had gone inside for that little part, but I heard about it, and they said there was a lot of there was some clenched jaw. Summerall was kind of like, and even as they said, his wife looked at him like, "Uh-oh,"
I understand it was a rust too, and they also brought up his daughter, so I was like, "Dang."
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely good banner, and like I saw Coach Spurrier the next day, and I said, "Yeah, they took a page out of your book," and he said, "Oh yeah, just having fun." He said, "But that's the way it should be." So it was good to see, all those guys, Dan Mullen, Coach Fulmer, Coach Spurrier, Didn't really get to. Well, I'm gonna lead it. I didn't get to talk to Kirby Smart.
I'm
My
surprised Dan Mullen went.
these colors don't run. But I think that speaks. So I've always had a respect for Coach Mullen, and I think he got a raw deal in some ways, just from an image standpoint. But I mean, he really went up high on my list for showing up, in that moment and being there to accept the. And I'm sure that was a little dig too for him to be there to accept it as his replacement was already ushered
He
out the
had
door.
success against Georgia though. So
He did have success against Georgia. But Lucas, so as we wrap this game up, and like you said, I know you've been watching the game. What sticks out to you about this Florida team, really over the last month? I mean, what really? I mean, we don't have to talk about Final Four and things like that, but just what has been their biggest improvement, or what has been their biggest, what has put them to where they are now? Probably playing, what some people think is the best basketball in the country.
all right, I'll give you 3 components that at least I've realized over the past month: improvement, consistency, and 3-point shooting, which is allowing them to roll off the big man. They've been a lot more pick and roll action, which I appreciate. Defensive wise, it seems like we have an anchor no matter who's plugging in. Like, for example, we don't see much of CJ Ingram, and today he showed out.
Yeah.
Like I had my jaw was dropped watching him hit back. I was like, wow, true freshman baller. So depth 2, and then for 3, like I said, defense being consistent, because as they started the season off as one of the poorest 3-point shooting teams, defense really carried out in the beginning of the season. So they got to continue that.
Good, no doubt. And I think we got a Buddy Martin sighting. Did he pop in, or did I miss that? He just sent me a text, said here. Is Buddy coming on? Do we have Buddy Martin? If not, go ahead, Lucas. So what do you expect? Hey, there he is. What's going on?
I want to interrupt Lucas. He nailed it. CJ Ingram had a night. I mean, he looked like the player we thought he was going to become, right, Lucas?
Yeah.
He really did. He shot the ball, shot a couple of threes. And I tell you, for a little bit there, it's 103-68 now with about whatever. But it didn't start off that way. They were down by, 14 points.
Yeah.
And then you got to start thinking, well, Thomas Houck is not there. Is the chemistry a little bit off? But have a night, Alex Condon. Career high. Last time I looked, he had 26. I don't know what he wound up with. And he looked really good. So anyway, there's a lot of players there, a lot of good players. And tonight, this is the same old team we've been seeing, Lucas, and they look really, really good. So I'm not going to take a lot of time here just to say hello, and it's a big night. And
Buddy, I want to ask you something since I got you here.
Yeah.
What are you looking for tomorrow, man? It's been 4 years since you talked to a Florida football coach. You asked the first question of Billy Napier's introductory press conference. And that was basically the last question, I guess, that you got. And then you asked the last question of Summerall's introductory press conference. And now you get to talk to. So, you always, what makes you great, buddy, is you dig deeper. So when you talk about, when you guys sit down with Summerall tomorrow, what is the great Buddy Martin looking for? What is the angle, for lack of a better term, that when you dial into somebody, you've spoken to so many of the Florida head coaches, you understand the landscape, you understand what's going on now with the program. What are you looking into? What are you looking for?
I think it's kind of a feel. You'll know when you get there. And I think I've learned, if you think of too many questions in advance, you go in there with a program where you're trying to, you shut up and listen and ask a couple simple questions, and I will see where it goes. But my gosh, the energy level of this guy, apparently he was jumping all over his strength conditioning coach today in practice about not getting him moving fast enough, and he just likes ball. He likes to talk ball. He likes to play ball, coach ball. And I have a good feeling. I have one thought in mind. The first press conference I ever went to Urban Meyer was the day he was introduced. There must have been 125 people that day, and I figured I'd get a chance to get a couple of real quick ones in, and I did. And I felt some connection with Urban that day. Now I know sometimes you have misguided notions. I've talked to Urban about it later, and he did too. That there was something about it that I understood who he was, understand what it was about, and he connected with me in a way that later in later years, when I wrote his book, we talked about it. I don't know if I've got that kind of relationship or will. He's got plenty of people. But I just want to say, and I heard his Frank Franchi interview, and I'll get off after this today. And Frank made a good point. He thanked him for taking the time to get to know some guys in the media and not just, the big guys, the little guys, the guys that don't get a chance very often. And he's a real person, and he promises he's never going to change no matter what. So it's an exciting time. People say, well, but you don't know yet. You have to wait and see if they win. No, I don't. I make a judgment on what I see so far. And like I said in my column this morning, if I were grading him right now so far in a box score, baseball, he's pitching a perfect game. So you can't say that he hadn't played it. That's not what I said so far at this point.
Pitching, right? Pitching.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
pitching.
right.
It's not
yeah,
over yet. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about it. And I don't really know. Rob, what should I ask him?
Well, I think what you should ask him is, why has he won so quickly and so consistently everywhere he's been as a head coach?
Okay, I'll ask him that.
Yeah. Lucas, what you want to ask
something?
him?
Yeah.
What do you think, Lucas?
Give Buddy one.
Well, Rob took the one that was first come to mind, obviously, which is
How'd you do
how do you succeed everywhere? I think you can take a direction of try to pull his teeth about the quarterback battle. Be like,
Okay.
oh, is Trammell going to get a fair chance?
Is there really a competition? That's what
Yeah.
people want to know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll take you up on it. I'll get out of here and get out of your way. You guys finish up your show.
Oh, no doubt, buddy. Great seeing
thanks,
you,
guys.
man.
Great to see you.
Great
Thanks.
seeing you, man.
See you,
Love
Rob.
Tom.
See you,
Hey,
Lucas.
Bye,
Thank
buddy.
you.
Night. Hey,
Hey,
you know
bye,
what he's right about is if you put it in your mind that something's going to be hard, it's going to be hard until you say it's going to be easy.
Right.
Like you say when you're about to jump. Let's say you're jumping off a 50-foot cliff. You got this. No one's going to say, you're going to fall. You're going to kill yourself. You're probably not going to jump.
Right.
I would love to be in there. I love your Redskins attire. Is that you're a Skins fan?
I'm from DC, born and raised. So
Okay.
yeah.
And my sister lives in Roanoke, Virginia. They're all Skins. I mean, it's
Yeah.
lifelong. But what I think the cool question, Loren, I want to know what you would ask John Summerall if you were in there with him.
I would ask him, if I was in there with him, I would ask him basically in his mind, what does his team need to be over the long term? What are you looking to build? What are you looking to build as a long-term team? What does it look like? And when and the answer, is, me, I'm a big Monday through Thursday guy. So, what does it look like Monday through Thursday as you prepare your team to be ready to play in the toughest conference in college football week in and week out? What is it? I used to always say, and me, Rob, I'm a realist. And I love the click clack of football. And there's a click clack no matter what position you play. There's a click clack when you're doing one-on-ones, receivers, DBs. There's a click clack when you're doing pass rush, O-line, D-line. There's a click clack in blitz pickup. Somebody gonna lose, somebody gonna win. But there's a sound to it. And that's, so, I would just kind of feed into that a little bit and say, what is it? Where does it go? Shout out to Todd Golden as well. Todd Golden, fastest coach to reach 100 wins in Florida history as well. So a lot of big tidbits, on the show tonight. But Lucas, as spring progresses, and then we'll wrap it up. As we get these reports and try to maybe get a look under the hood at practice. I'm gonna try to make it out there. Day job got me rolling. But coming out of spring, is the quarterback matchup you want to know? Is that the biggest answer you want to get out of the spring?
I mean, honestly, I think the biggest answer is what you just said is figuring out the identity of the team. I think going into this offseason, we're assuming that it's going to be a run heavy offense with Jaden Ball. But I do believe that we see all the time when an offensive coordinator leaves the school, obviously the quarterback they recruit would follow, which is my concern is that Philo would get more of an advantage, obviously, for being in the system, but I want Trammell to get a fair chance. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think he might, but I mean, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, when you walk into the huddle and you're like, okay, I know that call, or I've been that call. I've sat in film, I've watched the breakdown, I've been through install. I know that you do have an advantage. That's a real advantage from an X and O standpoint. But it'll be interesting. Let's stay tuned. It's kind of probably too early to take bets. I need to get out there and watch practice, but Rob, those things, and Summerall, I do believe that Summerall will take his time because it's a very glamorous position, particularly at the University of Florida, but it's also the most important position in sports. So, I think go ahead, Lucas, real quick.
I was gonna add on to you what you were actually just saying. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a few years ago when they were dealing with the transition of Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson, I believe, where they started both quarterbacks in game one. So
yeah, could go ahead, Rob.
No, and I would say, how many offensive linemen? What's the number that you've got to have that you actually trust when spring practice wraps up? Because if you don't have that, your running game ain't going to happen anyway.
Well, that's true. That's true. I think you got to have. I say 6 and a swing. And what I mean by that is you got to have a swing that can be serviceable at tackle and can play center and guard if you have to. Serviceable and then you need a backup tackle, I think. Yeah. I think you got to have somebody who can come in and can play, tackle. Maybe not left tackle because I think those guys stay in the game. But a guy that can sub kind of it as a right guy, maybe bring a guy down to play some guard or whatever. But we'll talk about that as the spring goes on. Who you got on the show, Rob?
Got Jason Caldwell, Auburn Undercover, Anwar Richardson, OrangeBloods.com out in Austin, Texas, Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas, Vince Farrar, the sports animal in Knoxville. We'll be bouncing all over the league. Brendan and me, we're driving. We got 16 kids. Got to love all of them. You know that.
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
Anyway, thanks for having me. It's awesome stuff.
Lucas, what you got this weekend? You going to be watching the Gators?
This weekend, tomorrow, Gator game, and the World Baseball Classic.
Okay. There you go. Shout out to USA. Yeah. Let's go.
USA.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate everybody joining us. I know the game was going on, but somebody said let's cut down the nets again. Go Gators. I think they already did that on Saturday night. Some people liked it. Some people don't. I mean, they got a bigger prize, so let's hope they get there. But appreciate you guys joining us.
Thank you.
We'll catch you next week. Rob?
Broadcasting live from somewhere.
Recording live from somewhere.
Do the theme music.
Cue that theme music. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
There's the